years in Europe, travelling around, great, fabulous, but time to go home. So I came back to Auckland, worked in a geriatric hospital and decided that maybe I'll do some papers at university towards a BA. So I suppose this is me hankering after the arts degree that I didn't do, and I chose physiotherapy. So I worked part-time and did some papers at university that year and worked at Cornwall Geriatric Hospital. Now this was the old barracks, I guess, from the war in Cornwall Park, which had been set up as a hospital for National Women's in Cornwall. And long corridors, so you worked forever. I had a wonderful boss, Vera Moxie, who was very accommodating when I had to do my university work versus part-time work there. I loved the work, I loved working, there were English physios on the staff, a mixture of people, and enjoyed working with older people. It was wonderful. One man I remember had been in the First World War in the trenches. He had very bad rheumatoid arthritis and was very bent, but he was a wonderful raconteur and used to tell us stories of the war. And I think it's also when you start to talk to people and realise that physio, you are doing something positive to help people when you're analysing what they need and helping them. But it's the wonderful people you meet in the wards and the communication that you realise that it's such another whole dimension of your life to be able to talk to people and hear their stories and the luxury of your job, really. And you can always go back and have a chat when they're having their afternoon tea if you have a break, and it enriches the day, really. I felt it was a privilege. So that was that area. And then from Cornwall, I finished those papers for that year, and then a job came up at Wilson Centre, Wilson Home it was there, which was a children's home for orthopaedic, children with Perthes, CDH, long-term where they had to be on bed rest with either in plaster or traction for things like Perthes disease of the hips. But they also had children with cerebral palsy, long-term stays, short-term stays, outpatients. And when it came, and the application was there for a charge physio, and someone suggested I take it. I said, well, look, I don't really know much about children. I haven't really got experience. And they said, oh, you did that work in Germany. And I said, well, actually, I didn't really know what I was doing. But I seem to have more children experience than anyone else, so probably process of default, I got the job. I was interviewed by Dr. Swan, who was a physical medicine specialist. And in those days, we had physical medicine specialists. Any orthopedic, any orthotic splint requisition always had to go through Dr. Swan. Anyway, he interviewed me, gave me the job, and there I was, charge physio at Wilson Home. Now we're talking about the late 60s now. We're talking about 1968 to 1972. And that was a wonderful job. It was a wonderful job. I had a very wonderful occupational therapist, Gay Preston, and Helen Flower, speech-language therapist, Phil Anderson, teacher, head teacher, all wonderful people to work with. And again, it was a very team approach, and learning was paramount because truly I really knew very little about what I was doing with these kids. It was a very orthopaedic approach, had kids in calipers, had spina bifida kids, kids with cerebral palsy, the rehab for the orthopedics. So I said to everybody, I said, listen, we've got to get into the system that we do some reading and discussion and learning every week. We do. So I went to the Dr. Swan and explained we really needed to go into the library and have turns at sourcing material, what was available for the time, and that became part of our routines. The other thing was there was one person, Kitty O'Brien, physiotherapist, who was very innovative. She had been to London, done a Bobarth course there, and when I heard about her, I rang her and asked her to come to Wilson Home and show us what she knew and work with some of the children, which she did, and that was very helpful. So it's drawing on someone who knows more than you. Let's be open, let's share what other people know, and let's build our knowledge up. That was really, really important. So Wilson Home was sited on the cliff edge in Takapuna, off Lake Road. 13 acres left for the children by the Wilson family from Wilson and Horton from the New Zealand Herald, and it was a wonderful place to be. And Ronald Coe was the paediatrician at the time, with clinics that I used to attend, and orthopaedic clinics with various key orthopaedic surgeons. So it was a very rich environment to work, and a very learning environment, full stop.